Yep. All right. It is recorded. Thank you very much for reminding me. Very, very helpful. It should be set as automated, but
Yeah, I noticed that because the red dot's not there. So I said, let's just keep
Raj, saving the day. Great. All right, so I think we're going to get started. Hopefully everyone who wants to join us today is here. Again, if you are, yes, it is me speaking. I'm your host for today, Adri Smith from Recoded. For those of you who have just joined, today we're going to be talking through this remote toolkit that you see on screen. We have a few speakers here today with us, ready to share their remote work insights. And some of those insights are actually already in the remote work toolkit, which is basically, as it says, a toolkit designed for people who are new to remote work and looking to get started. So please feel free to check that out. Again, I'm going to drop the link for those of you who just joined in the chat section, but I will also send a follow-up email on Monday where you'll get also all of the details, the recording, and the remote toolkit itself. So just a quick introduction to Recoded. If you don't know us already, we are an EdTech organization. We offer boot camps, self-led courses, and lots of resources to start your journey into the digital economy, so tech jobs. Many of you, I hope, already know us. Some of you who are students, I think, as well. I'm really excited to have you here today. As I said, I'm going to be your host, Adri Smith, head of content here at Recoded. And I am joined by a few very special people here who have some great remote experience to share. I'm just going to ask everyone just to give us a quick introduction to yourself and how you got into remote work and what the relationship there is first. So Besta, if you could just kick us off, that would be great. And then popcorn it to another speaker here.
Of course, thank you. So hello everyone, this is Beste from Istanbul, Turkey. I am 26 years old, working as an HR manager from Turkey, but worldwide. The company is UAE based and we are able to hire people from wherever they are as long as they have Wi-Fi. Hiring and leading teams remotely from different countries, and that is my experience with remote life for the last 4 years.
Great.
So that's about me. Of course, we will continue to speak more about our experiences. I will forward the ball to Hatice.
Hi everyone, it is great to be here. I am Hatice. I am from Ankara. I have been working as a front-end software engineer at Atlassian for 1 year, almost 1 year, and it is completely remote, but we have an office in Ankara and I sometimes go to the office, but it is not mandatory, so I am mostly working from home, and we can continue with Ahmed.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to start. I'm Ahmed Suraj. I'm a visual artist and content creator based between Riyadh, Saudi Arabia and Istanbul in Turkey. I usually do social media stuff and designing. It's mostly into art. Yeah, it's got to say that.
All right, Seda, you are the last one.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Seda Enal. I'm a front-end developer who works as a freelancer right now, but looking for a job remotely and not as a freelancer right now. That's all I got. I'm a recoded alumni. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here today. So basically, we're going to go through a lot of big questions that a lot of people start out with when it comes to remote work, which is why we created the remote work toolkit together that you guys can access. Again, dropping the link here for the new joiners. So we're going to be going through some of the bigger topics that people really have a lot of questions about. Suraj, I see you already have a question, or is your hand up just for fun?
No, actually someone asked, it's asking for a code for the event. Is that correct? I don't know what's the code for people to join. Some people wants to join, but it's showing that it needs to write a code.
Yeah, so they have to register by email. So if you send them the registration link, they can join. Yeah, so hopefully we have some new joiners with us just in a sec. But today we're going to be going through some of the bigger questions that a lot of people have when they start to work remotely. I started working completely remotely a year ago. Yeah, basically a year ago. And I had a lot of questions. So some of them came from me, some of them kind of came from a few other people that I know who started remote work kind of recently. But we're basically first going to cover what remote work actually looks like when it's successful. That's going to be our number one question. And then we're going to go through a remote work setup, remote communication, time management, and social and mental health. These are all really big topics. We hope to get through all of them today. So we're going to have to keep things moving. As I said, I think a lot of you have discovered already the webinar chat. Wonderful. You can use that to connect with your other attendees, leave insights. We love to see that, and we love to see you engaging there. If you have a question about something that somebody has said, or one of your more burning questions, I see somebody who's already asked, how do you not work 24/7 as a remote worker? Well, we'll talk a lot about that in time management. So hopefully we'll answer those questions. And if we don't answer your questions during the actual session, we'll have a bit of time for Q&A, hopefully, at the end, where we can answer a few of those. That's it. I think we're ready to get started. So I just want to quickly do a bit of a roundabout here about what does successful remote work look like, because there are a lot of challenges, and I think a lot of people think that it's just starting to work from home and setting up your laptop, sitting down and doing exactly what you would have done in the office. I think everyone here can probably attest to the fact that that is not the case. So before we get into all of the challenges, what does it actually look like, and what does it actually feel like when you're working remotely and successfully? You're doing it in such a way that actually complements your kind of day-to-day. I'll start, with Hatice.
Actually, it is like if I made progress on my test during that day, I kinda count it as a successful day. But not every day is same, and not every day is perfect as the other days. Sometimes it is better, sometimes it is worse. But if I made some progress, even if it is a few, I count it as successful.
Right. And Seda, what does remote work success look to you?
Yeah, it's challenging when you are at home, which is the most comfy area that you have. Sometimes you want to lie down and do nothing, but the tasks are waiting for you. So choose your side.
Yeah.
And there is stress about how to manage your work and life. And you stuck between two of them. But work doesn't care. You have a life, so you have to do things, work, and things has to be work perfectly. When I have stress and do not very well in remote work, I try to understand what stresses me about and focus on that part and try to fix it. And then I go back to work. Otherwise, I can't handle anything.
No. And Siraj, can you tell me a little bit about what successful remote work looks like for you? Because I know you were freelancing. How, on the good days, what did it feel like?
Actually, the word successful can be different for me or for Seda, for another people, because, maybe it's just being, if you are relaxing at home, that make you successful. It makes a successful day for you. But also that I believe that working remotely shouldn't make you isolated from your environment, your friends, your family, because I know some freelancers who are 100% isolated from their environment. So I think a successful experience for you shouldn't make you isolated from your environment, your family, your friends, your hobbies, etc.
Nice.
And also, there is a small thing, but if you are happy, it means you are successful. If you are happy
You're
doing
happy.
it. Yeah.
So happiness is the ultimate sign of success. I like that one. Vesta, would you agree? What does successful remote work look like for you? Oh, I think Vesta might be frozen.
Yeah.
We'll come back to her on that one. Yeah, so I think we've already some of us have already touched on some of the challenges of remote work. Seda, I know you said, that your health is super important, and feeling like you have to fix everything is also kind of overwhelming sometimes. We're definitely going to get into that. So the first, and for everyone who's already looking at the remote work toolkit, we've already divided up a lot of the tools and suggestions and articles and resources, for example, into several categories. And we're going to be covering those categories today. So for the speakers here, I'd love it for you to kind of go into a little bit of depth about why you've recommended some of the things that you've recommended. And we will start with your remote work setup. So I think hopefully Vesta joins us back in a second, and she can chime in on the remote work setup. But for me personally, when I first started working remotely, I started working on my couch with a laptop. And I'm sure I can see a few smiles here. That was not what I should have done. I'd love to hear, let's see, Hatice, what was your initial remote work setup, and did it work for you?
Yeah, I was intern when I started working remotely, and I had no lots of budget as I am now, because I'm an employee right now. I used this kind of stuff for working remotely, and they are quite affordable, like these laptop stands. I can show you, I guess. Let me try. And you can find it in the link, and it is very comfortable.
Yeah.
I think the important part is that with remote work, your posture can get really bad in the remote work, and because you are sitting all day long, sometimes until 5 p.m. That's why I think the important part is the posture for me. Right now, I am using desk and orthopedic chair, and also second display. But previously, I was using this laptop stand, and I was using extra keyboard that really helped me in my home setup. And also, I think apart from the equipment, your environment should be quiet, and like you shouldn't be easily distracted from your environment. And also that's another important part, I guess.
Yeah. And Seda, for you, when you first started remote work, what was your setup then, and what is it now, and why?
Yeah. When I started to freelance, my computer was almost 10 years. Even if my delete button was not working properly, my headphones left side was not working. After a while, when work is going great, I got my Mac and working with it. Now my delete button is working, and everyone is so happy.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good lesson, because of course, like, there are of course some startup costs, of course, that you might have to take on when you first go remotely. If you're a freelancer, you take on, for the most part, those costs on your own, and that's something to consider. Whereas if you're an employee, very often, I know, Hatice, your company pays for quite a lot of the remote work setup, that you have an allowance. So that's something also to consider about remote work is, if you're a freelancer, for sure, you have to invest a little bit.
Yeah, apart from home work setup budget, you are also provided with MacBook Pro for most of the companies I know. They provide it.
Yeah. And Suraj, when you first started working remotely, what was your setup, and what changes did you make to it?
I started with my laptop, basically, like everyone. After that, I tried to just collect stuff on my desk. But I
Lift
used to
up? What do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, you know, some things like the stand for the laptop and the
Right,
stand
right.
for your phone, etc., that lamp. But for me, as a minimalist, I just try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm easily distracted person. So yeah.
Okay,
Also,
so let's talk about that because I do think that your setup, so your setup is not just about the way that you set up your desk. I mean, yes, it is, but it is also about setting up a distraction-free location. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
actually, that depends on the person. For me, I'm easily distracted person, so I don't want to see lots of stuff in front of me. Also, I was a little bit motivated by the minimalism movement. Less is
Danish
more.
design.
Yeah, less is more, and that kind of stuff. Black chair, black desk, only your laptop. I think it's enough. Just keep it simple. But also, if, for example, if you are bohemian who likes to collect stuff and would like to just leave your touch, it's totally fine. But for me, I took this action because I'm easily distracted. So I just try to keep things that I will use on daily basis.
Yeah. Did anyone else? So I'm curious because distraction is quite a big factor when you're working remotely, especially if you're working from home or if you're working from a cafe, because that is an option, right? How many of you had distracting experiences when you don't set up properly in a cafe, let's just say?
Guys, I told you before, I'm not participating in the management time section. I'm not good.
He's not mastered it quite yet.
I will take some lessons from you. I will learn now.
Yeah. And Seda, do you ever work from cafes?
Yeah, I work from cafes, but I do not prefer to go work outside because I cannot focus that easily. When I work, I have to. I need a silence. So cafe is not a thing for me.
Natisha?
Actually, last year I worked at the cafe lots of time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, but this year I don't prefer to work from cafes because now they affect me more than they used to affect me because it was crowded, it was loudly, but I was not affected last year. But this year I prefer my home. It is more comfortable, and also I had display, and I like it. That's why maybe I stay at home and
Yeah.
work from home. But in the cafes also I use these laptop stands. I prefer
Oh,
it.
okay.
I bring it with me because they are light.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if you can set up that way, then it's quite nice. But usually, in my experience, it's also always been you bring your laptop. Sometimes the internet is really shady, and that's also part of your kind of setup at home. Is that you take for granted, of course, the quiet potentially, unless you have roommates or family around or pets. Usually, it's pretty quiet. But in cafes, indeed, if you're on calls, that's also something that you need to take into consideration when you're working remotely and you have responsibilities like calls, that yeah, from a cafe is not always ideal. Yeah, I'm curious to know from the people in the audience. Please feel free to drop your comments in the webinar chat section. I'm curious as to how many of you are either currently working remotely, or are you new to remotes, or are you looking to find a remote job? I know somebody asked if this session would help them get a remote job. We hope it informs you about the remote kind of challenges and what you might need to set up for if you get a remote job, but we're not advertising any remote jobs here, just to clarify that. So curious to hear from you all today. All right. Anything else about your setup that you would advise everyone here if they're looking for remote jobs to already start thinking about?
I think when they decided to start remote or freelancing, they have to be start with simple things. If they cannot afford the computer or mouse or anything, they have to start with simple things.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, because when they when in the beginning the setup costs a lot to you.
Mhm.
And
Anyone
also
else?
I can suggest that have a separate space, because when you are in the home, it is really important to separate it, because sometimes it feels like you're working all day long, even if you are not working all day long, actually.
Mhm.
That's why separated, in my opinion. Like not work, maybe not working on the kitchen desk and having a separate desk as a quick solution.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Somebody just mentioned that the most distracting thing for them was was all of their notifications. Maybe work related, maybe social, but either way, what you'll find is every remote worker has their one distraction, right? Like it can either be a roommate coming in and trying to chat, or it can be their phone. It can be a lot of different things. So that's distraction management is really tough. It goes hand in hand with time management, because the more distracted you are, the less likely you are to manage your time very well. So curious to hear your thoughts when we get to that section. Suraj, anything else you want to add on the remote work setup that you think is an absolute must?
Yeah, actually, if you grab a good pair of noise canceling headphones, that would work.
Yeah, and
I
ones
can't
that
do
are
it without
effective,
them.
ones that actually connect to your Bluetooth, because mine really suck.
Yeah, also for me, I'm outdoor person, so sometimes I would like to study or work outside or in cafes, or so it works. It's broken for 3 days now. I cannot live without them.
Yeah.
I cannot go back to the real life. Sometimes even when I don't listen to music or anything, I just keep them on, noise canceling, without anything.
Yeah. So I do see a few question in here from Akim. If you could pop that into the Q&A section, we will get to it at the end. It's all about how much you should travel when you're working remotely. I would love to talk about that. I do think it's quite interesting because it's a huge benefit. But yeah, maybe we'll get to that at the end. But if you can put it in the webinar Q&A, we'll get to it. All right. Let's head over to communication. So communication is probably one of the biggest things that comes up during remote work, mostly because, of course, since you're not in the office, if you have a question for a colleague, let's just put it as simply as that. You can't just walk over to their desk and say, hey, so-and-so, what's up with this? You have to send them a message. That's already a little bit of a barrier to few people. I'm curious as to how each of you experienced that when you first started working remotely, and what you've done since to make it a bit easier, or maybe it wasn't a challenge. Also curious to hear that. Seda, maybe you can kick us off.
Whether it's your employer, colleague, or client, communication is the key to keeping you going, first of all. For example, when I get a job related to building a website, I was keeping inform the customer of every step I made, because they want to know everything, how things are going, why it's not working, what is the next step will be, etc. And when you do that, you have to be polite and don't push the person you talk to for anything. I can't do, like, for example, I can't do it right now. Why do you keep distracting me? You can't say something like that. You have to inform and explain why you can't do, or why you do things the way you do. That's I'm suggesting. Yes.
All right. Hatice?
I think I am a good communicator, but it is really different. There is really big difference between working for employer and being a freelancer, I guess, because we have daily meetings, we have tea times. But the key, I guess, is not like not being shy and openly asking your questions to senior engineers. For me, it is a big difference for me because when I need help, I directly ask and don't think twice or try like long hours to fix it. Yeah, and also I prefer video call instead of asking through the text messages to my teammate because it is really quicker to just take a look at the problem for 5 minutes and then I can continue without any blockers.
Mhm. Also, has anyone here tried Loom yet?
Yeah, I use it. I today use it twice actually. I use it very often. It is very quick and easy to use. Really.
Yeah,
And
so for those of you, as kind of discussed, the barrier to kind of messaging someone over maybe calling them is definitely present when you're working remotely. But actually, there's a tool called Loom, which integrates very well with tools like Asana. I think it also does Microsoft Teams and other comms tools. But what it does is you can basically make a video of yourself explaining the problem, even sharing your screen. So sometimes you don't have to necessarily write out everything, because I've definitely experienced where if the problem is too big or the question is too big, then you're writing really like a full paragraph, which is maybe not ideal. Suraj, have you had any trouble communicating while remote?
Actually, only one time. It's about the time differences between you and the client if you are a freelancer. For example, if it's the evening here, it's the morning in the US or Canada. So this is kind of difficult because you don't know how to communicate probably. You just want to make a point in the middle between you and him. So you are sacrificing a little bit and he or she do the same. But yeah, it was and it's still a kind of trouble.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you also had some difficulties with that, right? With a big time difference.
Yeah, when I was working for a company in the USA, and you know there's a time difference between two countries. I was scheduled my all time according to this. In the mornings, I was working on my self development, and in the evenings, I was working for the job.
Yeah.
And there is a life between them.
Yeah. So I think one of the first questions was, how do you not work 24/7 as a remote worker? This is more relevant than ever. If you accept a job, particularly for an organization where the time difference is so great, it really can be tough, either not work completely 24/7, or at least feel like it, because it really can. So that's definitely something that you should consider before accepting a job, not just with a remote organization, but like actually where they're based, understanding where they are before you do it.
There is a life.
Yeah, there is life. There is a life. We'll definitely get to that in the time management section, because time blocking is a thing. Anything else about communication that you found was particularly challenging in a remote setting, guys?
I guess, can I go? Or Ahmed go? You go first.
No. I said for me, only the time difference was the biggest one.
Yeah, the time difference was the worst, and handle the thing to do, because when you want to go to sleep, they are all awake and they are waiting for you to doing their job. So when they want to communicate. They can be all messages from your personal spaces, and they can be asking did you do this job, and are you on computer right now? Are you on desk? Where are you? Etc. And that's a tough thing to do for me.
Yeah. So I know, Seda, when we spoke before, you said that you started communicating with them async, right?
No,
Okay.
async. No.
Yeah. So how many of you here know about async communication? So asynchronous communication.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want to fill us all in?
Sure, async communication is like not communicating at that moment, but communicating through the messages within the day, not at the same time slots, I can say.
I
Yeah.
hate it.
You hate it? Yeah. So basically, if you have colleagues, let's just say
I'm sorry, what was the
well,
name for that? What's
async.
it?
Async communication. So if you have colleagues that are based 12 hours away, then you'll have a nice system. Hopefully you'll have a nice system in place where you don't necessarily have to stay up or get up when they're up, but rather you leave messages that are then answered throughout their day. And then once you start your day, you have enough information to really do your job and to work that way. But one of the downsides is, of course, that you might not necessarily have as much, I guess, like social contact with one another, which, is also part of it. So we'll definitely touch on the social contact part of it. I'm curious for you guys, in terms of your communication with your colleagues, are you able to, do you feel like you have a professional, I guess like a professional persona, or do you feel like you can be more of your kind of whole personal persona when it comes to communicating remotely with your colleagues? I'm curious.
Actually, for me, it is both, because we have separate internal channel, and I can make jokes there, and we can talk randomly. But we also have professional channels in the Slack, and I am more professional on other parts. So it's both for me. Sometimes I can be me and make jokes within my team in the small circle, but in the other parts, when I communicate with other people, I'm more formal than I am with my team.
Yeah.
And also, I use lots of Slack emojis, and I can suggest everyone to use it, because when you are in remote work, you can show your mimic, and emojis are the best way to show them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good point.
Yeah. Suraj, you wanted to say something, it seemed.
Actually, I wasn't using the emojis before. I was just writing, pure without any emojis. And one time they start to ask me why you are so serious. Yeah, I was remembering myself writing something and background just maybe laughing or smiling, but it's not able to be translated to the other person in there. So yeah, using emojis is so good. I guess it will change the look at you, because sometimes as they describe me, why you are so serious. I remember this. I wasn't serious, but I wasn't using emojis.
Yeah. All right. There's a few questions that kind of like are in this category, but not really. I would say they're more in like the social connection, or they're broader, and I definitely want to get to those. So let's move on to the next section, which is, time management. And Suraj, I know you said that you're still learning in this area, aren't we all? Basically,
Yeah.
when you're working remotely,
I don't know. I'm a bad time manager. I have bad time management, or I'm overwhelmed, because I study, and I'm a software engineering student in the university. Also, I'm enrolled in the recoded boot camp. Also, I do some work remotely. So yeah, lots of things recently. Yeah, it's just too much stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So Reem, you just asked a question. If you can pop that over into the Q&A, we'll try to get to it at the end. I don't want it to get lost. So if you can just put it over into the Q&A, that would be fabulous. All right, Hatice, I know you mentioned the Pomodoro technique to kind of manage your time, make sure you stay on track, because that is probably one of the number one challenges when you go remote. All of a sudden, you have no social pressure, let's just say, if you feel it like that, as in the office to be working. You're just on your own wherever you are. Possibly you could be doing whatever you wanted to be doing. How do you deal with that, Hatice?
I use it. I sometimes use Pomodoro technique, but not always, because sometimes I really focus on my task and I really get satisfied with it, and it doesn't distract me. Anything can distract me when I get satisfied, but sometimes it is really destructive, especially when you are at home. It gets boring, of course. When it happens, Pomodoro technique is a great option to get back on your tasks and focus on it. It is like maybe most of you know it. It's like working 25 minutes, then giving 5 minutes break and doing it for 3 or 4 times. There is a very nice Google add-on, and I also added to the toolkit in the Notion.
Yeah.
I can suggest it, and it is really nice Google add-on because the UI is beautiful. You can put your tasks. You can measure how much time you work on that task, and it makes you feel accountable. I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, for me personally, I like to keep myself accountable with deadlines to colleagues. So I work in an environment where I don't necessarily have deadlines, but I'll often tell people, hey, I will have this to you by X time. Also, I know, Hatice, you dropped a tool in there called Asana, which is, yeah, task management tool. Well, of course, it's much more than that if you really wanted it to be, but that also helps you really outline your tasks and see what you want to do per day, per week, per project, however you want to divide it up, but assigning deadlines to myself keeps me accountable. Seda, what about you? For you, how have you managed? I know you said we're maybe dealing with the question, the first question that we got, which was how do you manage not to work 24/7? Seda, I know we talked a little bit about this. It's a little bit about time management as well. It's a lot about time management, right? You can't be working 24/7. So how did you manage that? And what was the situation when you first started working remotely?
When I got my first freelancing job, I was at the same time in the recoded bootcamp. And the recoded bootcamp is a whole scheduled program, and it's a serious thing. But when I got the job, I have to manage my time so properly. So I scheduled things that I must that I have to do for daily.
Mm-hmm.
When I woke up, what am I going to do today for today? I write things and try to do them exact that line. But sometimes you cannot manage the task you want to finish because there's a life you have to manage too. It's okay when you can do things properly. You are going to do it anyway. So one day you're going to sit the computers and suddenly you did all the tasks you want to do. Yeah. That's how I work for me.
Okay. Hatice, you wanted to say something?
Yes, maybe it is also easier for me because we plan 2 week sprints and we have daily meetings. In the daily meetings, we mention what we worked on. That's why I had to make some progress to give an update on daily meetings. It kind of push you to work on your responsibilities, I guess.
Yeah. And Suraj, does any of this does it resonate? Do you think it will help? What's your problem here? What's your time management situation?
Okay. Yeah, I suffer from procrastination.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. And I'm fixing this for the last.
You're fixing it, but tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the Pomodoro technique. Yeah, I used that in the first year, I guess, in my college, and it was super helpful because it gives you that sense of productivity. You finished something. For me, as a procrastinator, it helped a lot because you never feel that sense of productivity. So yeah, I'm using it, still using it.
No.
This is my limit of knowledge for time management. Just going out this way.
Yeah,
I do the same exact thing you did, Ahmed. Like I'm going to do this thing tomorrow, but tomorrow will never end. So
Yeah. I guess it's a kind of physical. It's not, sorry, psychological disease, maybe.
yeah, maybe psychological. Yes,
Yeah.
might be. Because everyone has this one.
Yeah,
There
one
is a
time-
famous
one-
TED talk about it. I
yeah.
can
Can you link to it?
yeah, I send it to chat.
Okay, great.
Maybe it will save our lives.
Are you a procrastinator, Khadija?
Yeah, about procrastination.
Yeah,
Actually,
but I feel like
for me,
everybody is to some well, a lot of people to some extent are procrastinators.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
And in the context of remote work, it can be really, really painful if you don't manage it correctly. I've also done this before where you co-work with a colleague or even just a friend. And for me, sometimes the social pressure helps me achieve a lot more. So that's also my personal recommendation. I'm not sure if any of you guys have tried that, or maybe in some cases it maybe is more distracting. It's really kind of relevant to the individual, right?
I'm happy that I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
No, you're not alone.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sorry, before you moving out, for the question that how not to work forever as a remote worker. I don't know why it just boom out to my brain that the clients or the companies that they are taking advantages of their remote workers out of the working hours by sending emails or asking questions. I would like just to say don't answer them because it's your time. Work never end. So okay,
I
you should.
definitely agree with you.
I did this mistake.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
During
I was very kind.
I was looking. I was always answering the questions they ask. So, but the questions are never answered.
Yeah, exactly. I was just getting lots of emails when I start doing this from the same client every day, every detail.
Even if in the nights.
Yeah, also the time difference between me and him. And then I said, I didn't know about this taking advantage of the remote workers, but just blew up to my brain. I said, look, I'm not answering any emails out of the working hours. I wanted to be respectful, but it's too much on me.
I think you should set your boundaries in this topic.
They don't see this one as a respectful.
Yeah.
They take borders other line easily. So
yeah, actually at the beginning I said, no, come on, don't do it. Just be kind to people and you should answer all the emails or the questions. But I realized that with time, all of my day is working. So sometimes I'm sleepy and I just go out to my response for an email. No, this is not what should be like the remote working.
There should be certain borders.
Yeah. So, but if you know how to make the limit, the line for them. If you know how to block them, it's good for your site. Gently. I'm not saying that go and make problems with your client or with your company. No, just gently say that I'm out of my working hours, so text me and I'm back.
Yeah.
All right. I want to move on to the next section because I do want to leave some time for Q&A. We might go just a smidgen over just to answer some more of the questions. But thankfully, there are quite a few things that have come up both in the chat and in the Q&A here about social and health. That is probably one of the bigger, I think, challenges for remote workers, mostly because you are juggling all these different challenges, especially at the beginning. And if you haven't really, let's just say, got on top of your procrastination, then you're going to fall behind. You're not going to feel great. Your mental health probably won't be amazing. You're not going to want to go out and see friends because you're needing to catch up on the stuff that you didn't do in the day while everybody else is working. You can see how this can easily kind of cascade. But additionally, there's a lot of concern about isolation. This is one of the biggest things that I think I hear a lot of remote workers say they wish they knew before they started. But yeah, I'm curious as to everyone's perspective here and how you thought it was going to be, how it ended up being, and what you've done since to keep your social and health on the right level. Anyone open to sharing first?
Actually, I try to make exercise like twice a week, and I think it is really important. If you are working remotely, you are sitting all the day, you are not walking. If you are at the office, you walk, you take a tea, and you talk with the others. But when you are in home, you are not really walking, and it is really bad for your physical health. And I put some YouTube stretch links in the toolkit for especially when you sit on your desk for the long hours. Sometimes you can get neck pain, back pain, and it's really helpful to make some 10 minutes stretch or 5 minutes stretch at the home. I guess also I can recommend doing yoga maybe. It is also really helpful if you struggle with your emotions and anxiety, especially anxiety. It's hard because when there is task that you are responsible on, and when there is a deadline, we all feel very anxious about it. Yeah, I can recommend them.
Yeah.
And also I put some music playlists for mental health section because it is like it is important to feel good when you are working because nobody is forcing you to work and you should enjoy it. I'm the person, if I don't enjoy what I am doing, I can't do it. I know myself. That's why it is really important to feel good when you work.
Yeah. Seda, how do you feel? How do you make sure that you're feeling good while you're working? What's your technique to staying healthy?
When I feel burnout, I'm going to sports and try not to think about work. Listening to music and drinking coffee helps me a lot. And of course, talking with someone who understands you and supports you is so important. Because when you work remotely, you can be all by yourself. And you are looking for someone who wants to listen to you and understands you.
No. Suraj, what have you had any challenges working remotely and staying healthy and maintaining kind of social connections with others? What's your experience there?
Yeah, actually, I had a problem with my weight because I used to sit a lot. I gained like 7 or 8 kilograms.
Wow.
Yeah, for a good time. But I mean, it's there's something more important than this, because if it's the weight or the physical health, you will go out and gym 30 minutes a day, it's enough, or even stretching in your home. What I would like to mention is the mental health, which is more important, I guess, because sitting alone, isolated from the environment for a long time can cause you weird stuff, weird thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Serious.
Also,
Yeah.
yeah, I linked something. It's called BetterHelp in the toolkit. It's a website, licensed therapist. They can help you online. Also, I guess it's affordable. You know, for the psychology field, it's kind of expensive, but for this one, it's reasonable prices. It doesn't have to be a therapist. If you know someone who you are comfortable with, your friend, a member from the family, just try to talk with him if you face any
Definitely.
problem. Yeah. It doesn't have to be someone who's professor or something, but you need to talk to someone. Just don't be isolated for a long time, because this is I guess this is the nature of the human beings. When they are isolated for a long time, they start to think about weird stuff and thoughts.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I think it's, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, there's something I realized when I don't talk too much with others. I forget about how to talk and how to communicate with others. That happened to me a lot because the feedbacks are, why are you such a cold? What happened to you? Why don't you talk? And I'm saying, I don't know, what should I talk to? And does it really necessary to talk right now?
Yeah. I also, I'm not sure if you also experience, so I'm sure many of you will have already guessed, but I'm an extrovert, one of those extroverted people. But when I first
You
started
don't look like one.
sorry?
You don't look like one from them.
No. But when I first started working remotely, they say, oh yeah, extroverts really struggle. And I was like, oh, I don't actually feel like that, because I do see, you know, I worked it into my schedule that I'm seeing friends a lot of times after work to kind of get that social buzz. Sometimes I'll meet a friend for a coffee during my lunch, have a quick coffee, and then come back to work. But what I did experience is when I now go to parties or I go to big gatherings, I'm so overwhelmed because my social is coming from like one-to-ones. And yeah, I'm curious if anyone else has experienced that remotely, this kind of social fatigue. That's something I wish I knew when I first started working remotely. Anyone here? No, just me? Okay.
I guess now.
Yeah. But yeah.
Adrian, do you have a yoga channel?
Do I have a yoga channel?
Yeah.
No. That's Yoga with Adrian, the other Adrian.
No, the reason why I ask, I was watching someone last year. It's just like you. She was a girl, looks like you exactly.
Don't have a yoga channel, not yet. So leaving that option open. Yeah, any other social or mental health pieces of advice that you can offer people? There
Go
have
out with your colleagues face to face every
Yeah,
time.
I can offer there are so much events that communities have do. Please join them and get in the network and talk to people. It helps a lot in the work life and normal life.
no.
And also, I can suggest like get a hobby if you are alone and you don't have anyone to talk or chat, because I moved to another city. I'm living alone right now, and some part of it I was really alone, and I started doing things that I enjoy. But now I have more friends, of course, but literally doing the things that makes you happy, even if it is like watching a series that makes you happy. It is really important to feel happy. In my opinion, definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we have a lot of questions that have dropped into the Q&A. I hope we've maybe answered a few, but there are